What is up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 65 of Think Twice, the magic and pop culture show, hosted by me, Justin Parnell, and my co-host, Ali Aintrazi. I was trying to roll you out like you're a sight to behold. You gotta make the people want it by the time you get to the
Did you throw out a red carpet too?
What?
Did you throw out a...
I was trying to throw it on a verbal red carpet. But you hurried it. You ran up the carpet. I was like, well, I was trying to elongate each vowel in your name since there's so many of them.
Are you trying to elongate it like my weird dog Maggie? Is it going to be that long? Or
I don't think anything has ever been that long.
except Maggie herself.
Well, yeah. Well, we're talking about Maggie.
She's a long girl. By the way, speaking of Maggie,
let me guess. She's long. Every time you describe Maggie, you make it seem like she's like literally like several feet long.
She's so long. She is so long. You gotta see her. I'm thinking about buying her a Halloween costume. I've seen
as long
as you don't
get the hot part, it's fine.
There's one that's a giraffe, where she's the body of the giraffe and the head is attached like to her neck and it goes up. So anytime she moves, the neck waddles.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, she's basically like the body of a giraffe. But
yeah, that's good. Okay, I like that one. And
there's one more. There's obviously the hot dog.
Yeah, hot dog that's played out. That's played out.
It is played out. Oh, then there's a dinosaur one.
Okay.
Off Amazon. It's this little dinosaur costume. Looks kind of cute.
I could get down with that. I could get down with the dinosaur.
So dinosaur, giraffe. That's what we're down to, I guess.
So Levi, my partner Meredith's 11-year-old son, is gonna dress up as one of the like inflatable dinosaurs. You seen those?
Yes, I actually have one of those.
Okay, he's gonna wear that for Halloween, but there's only two sizes. There's only a child size and an adult size. He's too big for the child size, just barely, but he's too big. So we got the adult size, and it's hilarious because it fits everywhere fine. Because it's not, I mean, like, his arms are, not that long, so that doesn't really change anything. But his legs are so short. It literally, his legs, it looks like the dinosaur's legs are like 6 inches. It's hilarious.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty great looking, though.
You guys should do it as a family. All be dinosaurs.
See, we don't want to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. That would be funny, but we're just not. I'm not going to spend $200 for all 4 of us to be dinosaurs. Yeah, this is not going to happen.
That's the same problem I'm running into with Maggie's costume.
Yeah. But the difference is you can just make Maggie wear it. At least she didn't have a say in the matter.
Yeah, she might, yeah.
So, Ollie, what did you do over the last week?
So I played in Columbus at the SCG team event. I played standard. I had Daniel Jackson.
Back to your roots.
Yep. Playing modern. He played Abzan. And then I had Robert Wright playing Burn and Legacy, which I told him not to.
I advocated against the Abzan, but to no avail.
So yeah, and then I played 5-color Lich's Mastery, which we're calling the Rainbow Lich.
Rainbow Lich? I like that.
Rainbow
I like that.
Lich.
I like that. Good name.
Oh. We lost our last match in day 1, so we ended up going 6-3. Did not day 2. And then I played the deck in the Classic on Sunday. And it started out 4-0, but ended X3. So and got 27th.
Okay, well, not bad. Obviously a little worse than you were hoping, but
yeah, I was so close, but so far. Deck's a blast though. It's everyone that I've given a list to that's played it has also really enjoyed it. Article comes out this. By the time you're listening to this, it's already out on coolstuffinc.com. So if you want to see the deck list, go there. But it's a lot of fun, and it's also a very powerful deck doing powerful things.
You can also find the deck list if you go to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/thinktwicemtg at the $5 tier, the Disciple Bolus tier. That's where you get access to Ollie's brew book, where he posts deck lists such as this one.
Yeah, that one's actually already updated past the article.
Excellent. Even better.
I read the article on Tuesday, and I've already edited some of the sideboard cards.
Excellent.
But it's not an article. It's on the brew book. So the brew book's like this. This is a toolbox deck. A toolbox deck you always have to change and adapt because you're playing a toolbox deck. So I'll be keeping updated in that brew book. It'll change a lot over the time. So, and also you should probably adjust it to your metagame too.
Yeah, totally. Which you have the ability to because it's 5 colors.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
So,
what about you?
Over the last weekend, I didn't do a whole lot over the weekend, which was great. This was a very chill weekend. But over the last couple of days, Meredith and I took off of work because her family came down from Chicago. Her sister and her brother-in-law and her brother that lives in Richmond all came down to visit. So we literally just spent the last 2 days just playing board games and just hanging out.
I'm
which
jealous.
Was great. Yeah. I'm sad that it's over. They're all still there, actually, while we're recording this podcast now. But it was a ton of fun. That was great. And I really love her family. Like, they're people that I would hang out with on my own, which is really great. Because that doesn't always work out. Sometimes when you have your partner's family, you might not get along with, but not the case here, which is super awesome for me.
Oh yeah, I know how that goes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was totally awesome. So we had a question of the week last week, and the question of the week was what crime did Rampaging Froston do to stay banned going into New Standard? And I said that he ate Aaron Forsyth's lunch way too many times. 59% of you agreed with me. And Ollie, 41% of people agreed with you, and you said what? Because I still don't understand what...
He was just a rampage. He was a rampagey boy. He's too rampagey.
Okay. Well, 41% of people agreed with that. I don't exactly get it, but 41% of people do get it, so good on them. All right, we want to thank a bevy of new Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much for signing up. Hopefully you stick around, and you're not just here just to get Ollie's sweet deck list, but I'm sure some of you are. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong that you're not just getting it and then leaving. Peter M., John M., Robert C., Jimmy K., Zach, Damian M., Riley L., and Slater C. Thank you guys very much for supporting the show. And we want to remind everyone that's listening on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, please leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show, whether it's a like, a comment, or a star rating, or a share. Those are all things that are super duper helpful, and we would really appreciate it if you just take a short time to be able to do that. So thank you to those of you that have done so already.
Also, yeah, I agree. Thank you for the new supporters, and thank you for everything else.
And stick around. You might have fun. You never know. You just never know. You might just have fun.
Yeah.
All right. So we have our famous segment that some of you have been, I know specifically that a number of you have been waiting for, but we're going to do our five top fives for Guilds of Ravnica. That will be here in just a moment. We are back with our most beloved segment, at least as far as I'm concerned for this episode. 5 top fives.
Five for five?
5 for fives.
$5 foot long for $5?
5. Get 5 on it.
Cat 5.
There's 5. There are 5. That's what we can confirm.
Yeah. Category 5. Let's go. 5.
Let's keep it at a category 5. We don't want to downgrade it to a category 1.
And that's what happened with the last hurricane.
That's true. Now that's good for hurricanes. Bad for 5 top 5s. So we have 5 lists of 5 cards each, and on a scale of 1 to 5, they're 5 out of 5 for accuracy. So this has been confirmed. We've never been wrong in any of these lists. So this is likely the most important thing you're ever going to hear. So pay attention. All right, list number 1. Top 5 underrated cards in Guilds of Ravnica. Let's start at 5 and go all the way down for each of these.
All right, sorry. So number 5.
Yes.
Price of Fame.
Like it. I agree with this.
Price of Fame is a black and 3. It's an instant, so destroy target creature. Surveil 2. However, that creature's legendary. Reduce the price of this card by 2.
I like that. I like that. Reduce the price of this card?
Or the cost of this card by 2. Or price. I guess it's free. I think it's very powerful. I mean, like, paying 4 mana to destroy a creature, instant speed, and Surveil 2, it's not the greatest, but it's also not the worst. Think about, like, honestly, if I'm casting this versus Process Contempt, I value the Surveil 2 more than gain 2 life against everything except aggressive decks. So I think this is
for sure
powerful.
Yeah.
And then if you're just casting for 2 mana, like a cast down basically, or Doomblade or whatever, and then you Surveil 2 that early, that's just like, it's a lot of value.
Surveil 2 is really, really powerful.
Yeah, yes, Surveil 2 is really powerful.
As I'm sure that will come up again at some point.
Yes.
Okay. Number 4 is Connive and Concoct. And this is a rare 2-sided card. Well, maybe not so rare in this set. A rare 2-sided card that both of the sides are relevant, but the difference in the mana cost of the front side, which is Connive, and then the back side, which is Concoct. Concoct is extremely powerful.
Yes, Concoct is one of the strongest reanimation spells we've had in Standard. Outside of Umbrella Rights, which is, I think, stronger than Concoct. Concoct is by far and large like the strongest one we've seen.
But Umbrella Rights only does one thing. It doesn't have have Connive, connected to it.
Yeah, like I don't think this card's far behind Umbrella Rights. I think we're just waiting for the right creature to reanimate. Like, we're missing a big creature, but being able to pay 5 mana, Surveil 3, then reanimate something is just
without targeting it.
Without targeting,
that's really
it's
important.
Huge. Yeah. Getting back like a Nuzahal or a Zakama right now is probably good enough. Just no one's really doing it. And it's just, again, Surveil 2 is powerful. Surveil 3 is even more powerful. And then I feel like the Connive part is just gravy. Like, being able to steal early on, maybe your opponent taps up for Aurelia, and so you steal her.
Yeah, good old 2-power Aurelia.
Yeah, just make sure you don't steal Tristani.
Yeah, that will not work out. That'll not work out.
No.
Okay,
No.
Ollie, what's your next on our list?
Next one is Expansion Explosion. I think Expansion is basically just a twin cast that's playable because Explosion is attached to it. Expansion is a blue or red hybrid, 2 mana. You can copy instant sorcery, costs 4 or less. It's great at counter wars. The late game, Explosion just wins the game. You can just Explosion for even just Explosion for 3, killing creature and drawing 3 cards is a 4 for 1. That's good enough. Yes. And if you do any more than that, you're still gonna win. I think it's a very underplayed card. That's very, very powerful. That we'll see more play as time goes on.
Totally agree. I'll let you say the number 2 card on the list too, because I want to say the number 1.
All right, number 2 card on the list is Niv-Mizzet Perron. He is not seeing play. Obviously, he's a little hard to cast, but he literally just wins a game if you untap with him. Your opponent, when they have to kill him, they usually have to expend an instant or sorcery, so you get to draw a card and ping something. But if you're able to untap, and like maybe people don't realize, but Niv-Mizzet triggers off both players' instants and sorceries, like even your own. Yeah. So you're like, if you cast Chemist's Insight, you're going to draw 3 cards and bolt or arc lightning something, or whatever, arc lightning. That's extremely powerful. I think
even
he
doing
will
something like opt becomes very powerful.
becomes fork bolt. Yeah.
Yeah, for 1 mana instant speed.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also get a scry one. That's just on your side. It's just a very gross and very powerful card if you don't have it.
Once people can figure out how to cast this card, this is I agree this is going to see play in standard for sure.
Yep.
So
also standard. One more thing, standard has a ton of counter magic with syncopate, disdainful stroke, devious cover up, ionize, sinister sabotage, blah 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 blah. And the visit just doesn't care. No. It's like okay, yep.
Yeah. And the number one card, and this is one that you and I both independently agree with, is Crackling Drake. Crackling Drake is one of the guild cards that's 2 of each color. So in this case, blue, blue, red, red. And it looks like, on the surface, just Enigma Drake. So it's a 0/4, and it gets +1 power for each card, instant sorcery in your graveyard. However, when it enters the battlefield, it draws a card. And I cannot express how important that is to replace itself immediately, and the fact that now you have not only have Enigma Drake to add on if you want to just have a very small suite of powerful creatures, but the fact that you have Surveil in this set, which allows you to put instant sorcerers in your graveyard very easily without even casting them, like that makes this card at minimum usually like a 4/4 that draws a card when it enters the battlefield.
Yeah, if you guys play Hearthstone at all, you guys know how good Azure Drake is. This is basically Azure Drake, but magic.
But with probably higher upside.
Yeah, it can kill them.
Like actually very easily.
Yeah. And what's great about this card is like I've seen people like this is a way for blue-red decks to counteract Carnage Tyrant or Nezahal or even Chromium. There's points where it gets huge. You can start trading those creatures.
Almost by the time you can attack with it, it's able to trade with those creatures. This thing can get massive if you just build your deck around it, and it's not difficult at all to do.
Yeah, I agree.
On Crackling Drake, I played a blue-red spells wizards / drakes deck on the free-to-play MTG Arena series that I'm doing on our YouTube page, youtube.com/thinktwicemtg. So if you want to see some of this type card in action, you should head over there and check out the episode that came out this past Thursday. Okay, number 2 list. Most overhyped cards in Guilds of Ravnica.
All right, I'll start with number 5.
Okay,
number 5 is Swiftblade Vindicator. This is the red-white for a 1/1 that's double strike, trample.
Keyword soup on a 2-drop.
Yeah, vigilance, I think.
Yeah, vigilance, trample, first strike, double strike. Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah, and regardless of however you spin this thing, it's still 2 mana for 1/1. 2 mana for 1/1 is 1 mana for 1/1 is bad. Okay, 2 mana for 1/1 is even worse. It's just not that good. Like, I personally believe that Boros Challenger is better than this card.
I completely agree. Wholeheartedly agree. And it'll probably be for the same reason. You can continue.
Boros Challenger it's same cost for 2/3. That also has that is a 2/3, so it survives a lot more removal, like shock and stuff.
Shock specifically, which is important.
And Pirate's Pillage over the 2 mana Pyroclasm. And on top of that, Boros Challenger can trade with a Goblin Train Whirler if you have 4 mana laying around, because you can pump it up, make it a 3/4, and kill a Train Whirler.
Well, it doesn't even trade; it kills it.
Yeah, sorry, not trade, just kills it. Yeah, and that's huge for a 2-drop. So
I actually agree. I didn't think that you were gonna. I actually didn't think you were gonna make the Boros Challenger comparison, but I'm glad you did, because I think having 3 toughness is important in a standard where shock is going to be a main deck 4/of card in one of the best decks.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this thing has another ability too. Boros Challenger has Mentor, by the way.
Yeah.
So you can like pump it to 3 power and mentor something on 2 power. Yeah. It's just gross. Boros Challenger is just an underplayed card that should see more play, and he naturally trades with all the first strike guys, the 2/2 first strike guys. Not trades. Sorry, I keep saying trade. He just kills them.
Yeah, yeah, doesn't trade. Yeah, not trade.
Yeah, he just kills them. So this card's really good. That card's really
Number 4 card, and this one's gonna raise some eyebrows. March of the Multitudes. Now you're like, Justin, this card literally was just in the finals of the Columbus Open, in the standard seat, the mirror match. Well, I think that was the easiest week 1 deck. Is to just play all the good Selesnya cards, and it looks like you have a good payoff card, but if people think that red is good, and it is, then I don't think this card is going to be great. If you watch the entire tournament, you saw multiple times where the red deck was able to get the March of the Multitudes deck in a position where they had to tap out, spend all of their resources not attacking to play like 4 1/1s, and then still couldn't attack, and then eventually just got chain whirled away, and then just got to start over again.
Yeah, I was going to compare this to Secure the Wastes. Obviously, you can just have lifelink and you can convoke it out. But
the issue with this card is you need to play this card in a creature deck, and Secure the Waste you want to play in a non-creature deck.
Yeah.
So you're playing this into decks that are prepared for creatures already, where Secure the Waste is an alternate win condition in decks that don't rely on creatures as their way of interacting with most opponents.
And people aren't sideboarding this card, but there's a card called Amulet of Safekeeping. Mm-hmm. So if this deck becomes popular, Amulet of Safekeeping is a 2-mana artifact that any deck can play. It gives all creature tokens -1/-0, and has another clause that says whenever you become the target of spell vulnerability and opponent controls, counter that spell unless they pay 1.
Yeah, I've had that card played against me in Modern. That was really annoying. I didn't like.
Or
I was playing Mardu Pyromancer. So all I'm doing is like making tokens with young Pyromancer, and then targeting them with like burn spells and discard spells. So that
costs 2 mana. Yeah. That seems really good. It seems really good against that.
All right, our number 3 card, and this card has swung wildly because at one point I thought this was I actually thought initially this card was underrated, but then people started playing it, and now it is just like people think it is like the greatest thing in the world. And I think this is a good card, but I think it's still overrated, and that's Risk Factor. Risk Factor is the newest and longest line of Punisher cards. It is 2 and a red instant. You may have target opponent may have Risk Factor deal 4 damage to them. If they don't, you draw 3 cards. So basically, it's like you play Risk Factor. You're like, you want to take 4? No. Okay, I'll draw 3 cards. Oh, you want to take 4? Yes. Okay. But then it has Jumpstart, which is the important thing for this card, not just the fact that it's an instant. Yeah. And I do think this card is good, but it's just so incredibly narrow that I think that people are overestimating its usefulness, because you're really only playing this in like one type of deck, and that is a hyper-aggressive red deck. Like, hyper-aggressive. I'm not saying like a mid-rangey red deck, because you're not able to get people down low enough.
Or fast enough.
Low enough, fast enough to be able to play this. If you can, this card is very good, but there's I guess it doesn't ask you a lot, but it's so narrow. You're only playing it in a singular type of deck, and I think people are going to start playing this card in spots that they shouldn't be and are going to be disappointed with, which is why I think it's now overhyped.
Okay, mine's going to be mine number 2.
This is appropriate one for you.
Is Doom Whisper.
Wow. Come full circle. Ali previewed the card, and now he's turning on it. Says it's the worst card in the entire set. Everyone should throw their copies away in the trash. Don't even sell them.
No. It's also overpriced. But anyways, I think the card is like, it's okay.
It's fun.
It's playable.
It's a card.
But it's not like it's not insane or anything. It's just a big dumb flying idiot that it's hard for me to put this into words. It's a 5-mana for 6/6 that plays right into all the popular removal spells like Brass's Contempt, Assassin's Trophy, Teferi Hero Dominaria, even Price of Fame. Like, it just curves so badly into removal or Cleansing Over or Solar Wreckage. Like, it's just, or Routing Super Copper. Like, it's such a feel bad to play this card than just get like easily dealt with.
Yeah, it's just a creature. It's just a creature. You really have to be honestly. You really have to be taking advantage of the surveil ability on this card.
Like a lot.
Yeah, like that has to be the primary focus of your deck to make this.
Otherwise, this card is not. This card is not.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, like some creatures nowadays need to they need to do something when they enter the battlefield, or have haste, or have a mechanism that makes them difficult to deal with or recurable or something. And this just actually doesn't have any of those things. Surveil's really good, but 2 life isn't free. And if you're playing this in like a control deck, then you can't do that too many times. And if you're not playing
even
this in a
Gagara decks, I think should try out some Underrealm liches. Every turn, just anticipating and putting the rest of cards in your graveyard.
And it's a lot harder. That card is very, very difficult to deal with. Yeah. And I agree.
It just makes all your draws so powerful. Obviously, like maybe a split, but I don't know. Regardless, Doom Whisperer, I think it's good, but it's definitely overhyped.
Totally agree. All right.
This last one we both agree with.
And we both put this independently as number 1 bullet on our lists. So
yeah,
take it away.
It's Mission Briefing. Mission Briefing, you're literally like for Snapcaster Mage paying 2 mana for a 2/1. You're literally paying blue here for 2 Surveil 2. Like that's what you're paying.
Now we agree that Surveil is powerful, but it's
not worth 2 mana.
No. Not 2 colored
double
mana.
Blue at that. Yeah. It's just it makes obviously you just play another spell from your graveyard, but basically what you're getting out of the deal is Surveil 2 for 2 mana, where Snapcaster you got a 2/1 flash, which is much better than Surveil 2.
This is the difference between Snapcaster Mage and Mission Briefing is the difference between Eternal Witness and the card Recollect.
Yeah.
It's the two embodied makes a difference. In fact, it makes all of the difference. Like I'm not saying
it's even worse because like it's hard to cast in Snapcaster range too, which is it's like if Recollect cost green 1.
Yeah, and
they had
green 2 mana cost switch, so it's even worse.
Which is insane.
In this case.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's no decks that this is good in. Like if you're a spell heavy deck where you just want to cast as many spells as possible, and you're basically you never plan on casting anything that costs more than like 3 with Mission Briefing. I think it's playable. Like like there's a deck that will play this, but it's like I don't think this is a 4 of any deck. Just ever.
Any deck. Yeah.
And you're playing as like a 1 or a 2 of because it's like, oh, I want to rebuy my spells in like the mid game. But it's I don't know.
Even in my like Bullet to Fairy deck, guys, I would recommend playing Devious Cover Up over Mission Briefing, so you can buy back like other counter spells with Teferis, because Mission Briefing doesn't buy back your best card, which is Teferi.
Yeah.
And Devious Cover Up does. Like counter the spell and buy back 4 cards back into your deck, which is annoying, and for your opponent, good for you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I was so surprised. I was surprised that this card was as popular right out of the gate as it was.
Yeah, I think it's just hard to connect the dots sometimes.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, number 3 list. The top 5 most underpriced cards in Guilds of Ravnica.
I think this is my
specialty.
Take.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to go with number 5 is the only mythic rare that I have on the list. This is Arclight Phoenix. Arclight Phoenix is a card that has the text, return this to the battlefield from your graveyard. So that's always, anytime you see that, you really want to say, okay, so this is maybe not a combo card, but it has the potential to be a card that can fit into multiple archetypes, with combo being one of them. This particular creature has flying and haste, and it does not have the text, can't block, or has to attack every turn. So when you remove those, it can come back from the graveyard to the battlefield. This can make this an excellent attacker, an excellent blocker. And the trigger is if you play 3 or more instants of sorceries. So while that seems difficult, I can tell you right now, there's a lot of really cheap instants and sorceries, especially ones that cantrip, like Discovery / Dispersal, the Discovery part, Opt, just things that are cost 1 and 2 that just kind of draw you a card, and then small burn spells to let you kind of play this like control-y game. You do have to do them on your turn, so you're not really doing them on your opponent's turn, but that's okay. That's kind of just changes deck building. And this card is only like $3 or $4 right now. and you can find it pretty much everywhere for under $4. So if this card becomes good, this is a mythic rare. This will quadruple in price. If there's even like a tier 2 deck or a deck that spikes a tournament with this card in it. So that's just something you always want to keep in mind when evaluating cards like this.
Yep.
The next card is a card that we talked about a little bit earlier, so we're not going to go in as why it's good again, but Connive and Concoct. This card is under $1 virtually everywhere. You can pretty much find it everywhere for under $1. And I both agree that specifically the Concoct part is one of the most powerful reanimation effects, which again is something that has the potential to be a little broken. Anytime you're reanimating something, like depending on what you're getting back, there's always, I don't want to say danger, but there's always potential for it to be very, very powerful.
Yep.
Number 3 on the list is Beast Whisperer. This is a layup for Commander, first of all. And Commander is one of the formats in Magic that demands the most respect for pricing on cards, because if a card is good in Commander, it is going to be expensive. Coalition Relic is a perfect example. This card has been reprinted 4 times now, with its printing in Guilds of Ravnica, and it's still a $7 card. That should tell you all you need to know. And this is a card that's never been played.
You mean Chromatic Lantern?
What did I say?
Coalition Relic.
Yeah, sorry. Chromatic Lantern, sorry. Yeah, Chromatic Lantern, which is reprinted in this set. No one has ever put this card in a standard deck other than Ali. Now, I'm not downplaying his deck building ability, but historically, this is a card that's only been played in one format, reprinted at this point a bunch of times, and is still commands a pretty high price tag for a rare. Beast Whisperer is like $1 pretty much everywhere. $1.50 pretty much everywhere. So even just for a Commander, if you want this, and this card is phenomenal, by the way, you should get it. There's also a chance this card can be powerful in Standard because the effect itself is powerful.
Yeah, get it before I make a black-green Heartless Summoning Beast Whisperer deck in Modern.
That's fair. I mean,
that's kind of absurd.
Yeah, no,
right?
seriously. I mean, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Next one is Find and Finality. This card is just very powerful, like Connive and Concoct. It's like under $1 everywhere. Being able to, I mean, Find, people should read Find wrong. It says return 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. What it actually says is draw 2 cards from your graveyard of your choosing for 2 mana, and it could be black or green. Finality is also a 6 mana sweeper that lets you essentially keep like your whatever creature you want alive.
Yeah.
So if there is any sort of black-green grindy deck, and I think that there probably will be at some point. I mean, inevitably, there's the tools for it.
There already is, and they play some Find Finality. But I mean, this card.
I think ultimately this is one of those cards that people are like, oh, I'm going to play 1 or 2, and I think this just ends up being a 4 of in that deck at some point.
Yeah, because it buys back your removal spell, which is Ravish Chupacabra. It buys back your bomb, which is whatever, Doom Whisperer, whatever you play.
It literally doesn't matter. That's kind of the thing. And all that deck is like 2-for-1s. You just get back. You're just like drawing 2 2-for-1s out of your graveyard of your choosing.
Yeah. I mean, double rage dead for 2 mana is really good.
It is. Yeah. We've seen with like over the last few years, when you just staple return a creature from your graveyard to your hand onto cards, those cards become outrageously powerful. Also,
there's Playcrafter, so you can like buy back and kill a Planeswalker or kill, whatever. So it's definitely powerful.
Yeah, I think this card is just this card. I'm not saying this card is going to be like $10, but it's certainly going to be more than $1.
Yeah, like if maybe playing Ravenous Rats or the whatever the new Ravenous Rats card.
Yeah, you just grind your opponent out.
You can
with that
Playcrafter. Yeah, you can just build your Final Finality or your Final Finality deck to get like back a removal spell, a bomb, or discard spell.
Yeah, you're 2-for-1 your opponent with everything. Yep.
Very versatile.
And then the last card that is on this list, I don't know if did we say this one for another list? No, we didn't. Okay, cool.
No.
This is the number 1 card, and this one is also really easy for me. And Ali also independently had this as his number 1 card. Is Mausoleum Secrets. This is literally, if you build your deck correctly, this is instant speed demonic tutor.
And this is the problem. The problem is it's hard. You have to build your deck. People don't like building decks. They like to go the easy route, like Golgari, Boros Angels, Boros Aggro, March of the Multitudes deck, Is It Control or whatever. But the payoff cards, like this is a huge payoff card. Like
this
Justin
is
just said,
massive payoff card.
you just have to build around it. So,
and there's so many good creatures in Standard where you can do it if you want to.
yeah,
Once people can figure out a deck for this, and this is a 4-of card, just for Standard could push this card towards $10, which is a lot for a rare, and that's not even counting other formats.
maybe it goes in the Connive Concoct deck eventually.
Yeah,
like
maybe so.
Who knows?
Because it can get both. It can get both of those. Speaking of older formats, next list number 4: top 5 cards in Guilds of Ravnica for Eternal formats. Ollie, you want to start with this one?
Yeah, number 5, Creeping Chill. This is the card that says when it's milled, you get to do 3 damage to your opponent and gain 3 life. It's hard seeing a little play in Modern in the Dredge decks. Yeah. It just gives the Dredge the ability to fight against burn decks. Basically, like instead of playing Gnaw the Bone or whatever have you can just like Creeping Chill in your deck, and like milling 1 or 2 of these is enough to beat red decks.
And not only that, if you build your deck in a way where you know that by the time you mill your entire deck, you only have to deal your opponent 8 damage, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of gives you inevitability. You're like, well, I might not be able to attack past you, but I know that you're at 9 and I have 3 of you left in my deck. So as long as I can aggressively dredge myself, then you're gonna lose.
Yeah, like this on top of Conflagrate is gross. Like,
yeah, provides a lot of reach outside of combat.
Yep.
Yeah. Number 4, and this one is a layup. I don't feel like I'm smart for saying this, but Knight of Autumn. This card costs 3, and Collected Company says converted mana costs 3 or less for a creature. So
it also people are playing Reclamation Stage in their sideboard. Yeah. If you access White, it's just much better.
If you have green and white mana, card, then you probably gonna
ease their
play this.
place.
Yeah. And humans deck plays Reclamation Sage in their sideboard, even though it's not a human.
Yeah, this is better.
This is just better. You just get to side this in against multiple decks. Well, I sided it in, and I'm holding this in my hand. And I need to kill you, but you don't have an artifact or enchantment. All right, well, I guess it's a 4/4 or a 4/3. That's fine.
Yeah. And Smiter was played as, obviously 4/3 is different, but like
this gets to choose. It says enter the battlefield, turn into Lockstone Smiter, Kitchen Finks, or Reclamation Sage.
Yeah.
If you read the card like that, it's just like I said, just a very powerful card in general, and especially so for Modern, where flexibility for those kind of decks is key in post sideboard matches. Okay, number 3 is Unmoored Ego. This is arguably the best of the Cranial Extraction cards that we've seen.
I think it's definitely the best, just because it can name lands.
Exactly.
Yep.
So like another card that people are familiar with, the fact that this can get lands, you can get a Valakut, or in maybe even like Legacy, you can get a Dark Depths, or a Tabernacle, or just what have you. And honestly, the reason this is good is because it specifically can name.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that is actually going to be what you're going to do more often than not with this card.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2 is a card we were just talking about. This is Mausoleum Secrets. If there is a deck that is able to take advantage of this is what makes this card extremely expensive, is a non-standard deck that can take advantage.
Yeah.
As Ali was saying, you have to do some deck building gymnastics to do that. But as we have seen in Modern, sometimes very powerful cards take years to kind of get discovered, but they always do.
But once they do,
they always do inevitably.
They shoot up.
Yeah. Like Cart-Calling Ironworks has been a deck for a long time, and Scrap Trawler existed for a year and a half before that deck started seeing widespread play, and now it's arguably the best deck in Modern. You could make you at least make an argument for that, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that deck literally just existed with all of its tools for a year and a half.
Yep.
So
just take a minute for people to get it.
Yeah. The upside on instant speed demonic tutor is pretty high. So
yeah.
Number one card. I mean, I guess this is also the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah, it's Assassin's Trophy.
Yeah.
You guys know why it's good. It's a scalpel. Like Justin said, it gets things that Black Green decks couldn't deal with before, like Mind Sculptor. Black Green had a problem with, or Soul had a problem with, or getting Thespian stage combo. Getting the land is good. Just a good card. It's pretty obvious.
It's just too versatile. It's just It's probably the best. One of the best multicolored cards of all time. It's one of the best removal spells of all time. And I do think this card is, I don't want to say overhyped, but people are freaking out about this card. It's just a removal spell. It's a really good one. And you need those.
Yeah. But you can't win with it.
You can't win with it. It's not win you the game. Something else has got to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Last list, and all of this is your specialty. Top 5 guards in Guilds of Ravnica for standard in 2 months' time.
I think number 5 is, again, has this trophy. I think we'll see play. I don't think it's gonna be the best card in standard by any shot.
I think it's better in modern than it is standard.
I agree with you. But I still think it's fine in standard. And it'll be like top 5.
Yep. I mean, it's a great removal
4,
spell for sure.
4, I'm gonna go with Pellet Collector. This is one actually you listed. Just a good card. It's great mono green, better mono green than black green, because this gives you like 8 1-drops like Laden Wolf or Pellet Collector, and it just scales up. And he checks power or toughness. If you're playing mono green, he grows.
Well, he just checks power.
He grows really fast.
It checks power on entering the battlefield or dying.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Double check.
Yeah, double check. Either way, I'm going to continue on because that's what I think it is. It checks power on entering the battlefield or dying. So if there's any sort of green aggressive deck, and there is, this is like one of the other payoff cards in addition to Guild Leaf Champion and Galta, which this card plays extremely well with, because it's going to both of those cards are going to trigger this coming into play and leaving play. So,
yep.
I mean, this just makes a very aggressive play before either of those two cards, and getting trample is huge, is massive.
Yes.
So,
third one is number 3 is going to go with Experimental Frenzy.
Yeah, this card got its spot blown up for people. I actually thought this card was going to be underrated. I was like, well, this card's going to see play eventually, and eventually meaning week 1 immediately.
Yeah, it's already seeing play. I don't think it's found the best home yet.
Which is scary.
Yeah, I think you'll see more play as time goes on, and it'll be in the spotlight. It'll be a deck. It'll be at least in one deck.
For what it's worth, I think that card is better than Future Sight. I think it's a better card.
Yeah. It's just easy to cast in 4 mana.
Yeah, for sure.
Number 2, I'm gonna go with Legion Warboss. Goblin Master was good. This card is also good. I think control decks are. So some people are playing like fancy things like Nezahal or Thief of Sandy. Man, if you just jam like 4 war bosses in your sideboard, and you're gonna kill people. You're gonna kill people
Very quickly.
This card is good in like mid-range deck, aggro decks, even sideboard control deck. So it's a very good card. I think it'll definitely be a face of standard.
Yeah, I agree.
And last one is a card that I think is people like maybe know exists but just don't play it. Discovery Dispersal. Discovery is so easy to cast. It's hybrid blue, black, and 1. So if you want, you can play it in your Golgari deck, because you can cast out black mana and just splash like 2 Drowned Catacombs or 2 Hinterland Harbors or Watergrave, whatever, and then you get a free Dispersal. But being able to surveil 2, dig into your deck and bend things for Find Finality or for Eldest Reborn or for Undergrowth, like whatever, and then later in the game be like, okay, well now I'm going to use it as a Dispersal to bounce your you know, Teferi or whatever. And and if you're playing Black Green deck, you'll have some hand disruption or attrition. So this could later in the game be like, you know, balance your highest permanent and discard it.
Yeah.
Then early it just fuels your deck. I think people understand, like people think this is a blue card. Yes, it has a blueness casting cost, but you can play it in black decks. Yeah, Discovery is very powerful too. That's underplayed.
And see, I looked at this card initially because obviously when I'm evaluating cards, for me personally, like with things I like to play, not as far as like professionally, I'm like, I look at the black or the black green and the blue black hybrid cards, and I'm like, well, what can I cast with black mana that I couldn't before? And I was like, well, that's pretty good. I just get to do a good preordain. I understand it's for 2, but the fact that I don't have to cast it for blue, I was like, that seems like a mistake, but maybe not. But I agree. I think this card's great. I'm glad you put that.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would have put it 1, but I really hope that you're right, and I think there's a chance you are.
I mean, this is the best card in my Legend Mastery deck by a mile. Like, just because it gets both halves of Marine Conjecture, because it can grab both. It's instant and sorcery. So, yeah, so it's just a gross card, and I don't know, very powerful. I think it's also good in combo decks too. Like if someone's playing like some sort of 1,000-Year Storm, Permanent Amulet type deal. Like this becomes preordained in the Permanent Amulet deck.
That's true. So. Yeah, great. All right, good list, Ali. That's our 5 top 5s for Guilds of Ravnica. Excellent work.
All right, what's next?
All right, up next we have our long-awaited return to Magic Story. So we will be back in just a moment with Under the Cover of Fog.
It's getting a little spooky in here, Parnell. Are you spooked out?
Spooky.
There's a lot of fog. It's almost Halloween. So I guess this is a good pick. So we returned to Magic Story, and this time we've been told that the story is going to be focused on main characters. It's going to be focused on not main characters, but it's going to be focused on like characters that aren't always central.
Right, basically,
yes.
They're going to be expanding the way that they tell Magic Story, and they might not necessarily be using the Magic Story space Wednesday on Wizards homepage, on Magic's homepage, to tell the main story. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. So kind of just going to go back and forth. So today we have the return of the Magic Story in Ravnica, Under the Cover of Fog, written by Nikki Drayden.
Yes. Under the Cover of Fog introduces to a character named Merritt and his wife Tashi, and then he has a baby named Soch, or
well, that's the girl.
So, oh, you're right. Sorry, the girl, yeah, is Soch, the oldest girl, right? Merritt we learn he's a member of Demir, very low rank. He's poor. He is working for a Minotaur that's basically a butthole. Yeah. So he's working for, he basically has a crappy job. He doesn't have a lot of money. He goes home, and his wife is, like making spells, working with the kids, very busy, small hovel, and she sees that he has no food. She's like, "Hey, I don't care what you gotta do, but you go back out there and bring us back some food. We have to feed our kids. So basically, go get food, go get bread, go steal it. I don't care how to get it, just go get it." So when he goes to the market, he has a scarred face. It's very recognizable, and so anytime he's around food or any kind of vendor, the vendor always has their eyes on him because they are being they just assume that he's going to steal. While he's there, he sees his boss and he decides to go into the boss's house to steal. While he's in there, he's sneaking around, and he sees this little vial that says, Elixir of Focus. And he's like, "Oh man, if I can take this, I can be more powerful. Like I actually use my magic because instead of just failing all the time. So he takes 2 drops, and while he's about to take his 3rd drop, he sees the boss's wife stumble into the room. She's half asleep, so she's not really like paying attention. And as she's looking around, the elixir kicks in, and he's able to remember everything he's learned, and actually make himself invisible by pulling on her like senses. Basically, like he's invisible, but she sees him as invisible. Basically, like mind magic.
That's how I took it as.
Yeah. Okay, so while he does this, he eventually gets caught, and he starts running back home. He thinks that as he's running back home, he thinks he's made like such a mess that House Demir will probably come after him and like do something. Once he gets home, Tashi, his wife, says the baby is like flourishing, and I thought the baby had been eating the elixir bread. Basically, like I assumed the elixir.
Yeah, the elixir, maybe it interacts differently with different people.
Maybe, yeah, because Merritt basically ran from his boss's house with a loaf of bread and an elixir, and the elixir spilled all over him. So some of it got on a loaf of bread, and I'm assuming the baby ate some. So the baby sneezes, and when he sneezes, all the candles burst into flame, and then all of a sudden, the boss is also banging on his door. He's because on the way home, Merritt also messed up his boss's trade, which he had going on with the Simic people, or Simic Guild, I guess, with the Merfolk, and he messed that up. So now the boss is angry. He noticed him, and he's banging on the door, wanting to get something back, or payment back, or something.
Yeah, well, sure, coming to run him down in general.
Yeah. So he breaks in, a fight breaks out. The Minotaur, the boss, is just basically very easily manhandling everybody. Like he's
the Minotaur,
taking people in the face. He's headbutting people. Like and the boss name's name is Grimbly, and it's just not close. And he's like, you know what? I'm taking this baby as payment. I think I can. Don't worry, you're not really paid. There's no other way you can pay it. So I'm just take your child and find someone that wants this baby. And they can't stop him. Like the mother and father can't stop him, but somehow eventually Grimbly, when he's about to walk with them, when the Grimbly's about to walk with the baby basically like mind chokes the Minotaur for a split second, and then he just vanishes. He raises his arm in the air, and he just like disappears. And everyone so Mary and Tashi, the baby's parents, think that the Minotaur did something to the baby, and the Minotaur thinks that they took the baby. They have the baby back. They basically can't figure out what happened to the baby, where it disappeared.
And
then
I catch a glimpse of the intensity in my child's eyes. My son arches back again, throws his arms, and suddenly he's gone. Disappeared, vanished.
Yeah. And later he reappears in the house with a purple fruit, a star-shaped purple fruit, and he's like eating it. It's a fruit that they haven't seen. So
mystery fruit.
Maybe almost like planeswalked. It doesn't really explain it, but it's very strange. And while this is going on, finally a man appears that Merritt is able to assume. He assumes as Lazov. Lazov is able to mind control / wipe Grimbly, tell him, go back, I'll pay for your debt. So, you saw nothing, go away. And he goes away. And then Lazov tells him, he says, you have a gifted son, unlike you are pathetic compared to your son, basically.
Yeah. That's pretty much what he says.
Yeah, and he says, "Don't. I will provide for your family, or Demir will provide for your family. All we want is your son. We won't take him from you. We'll just tutor him, and while we tutor him and help him learn or get to his potential, we will also take care of your family." And before they can really protest or say yes or no, I think they kind of want to go with the deal, but they're not really sure. Lazov just casts a spell that basically wipes their memory and places a Great Aunt Bella, which is the tutor.
Great Aunt Bay. It's just BEA. Yeah,
is
Great
it?
Aunt Bay. Either way.
Okay. Well, Great Aunt Bay, Great Aunt B. She's there, and they see her as an aunt when she's assigned by the Demir, and Demir has like this huge like bruise on his face. He doesn't know where he's got it from. Obviously from Mentor, but he doesn't remember. And there's like, I have no idea what just happened the past couple hours. And that's where it basically ends.
And to note, the wife Tashi, when they come to after they've been like slightly mind wiped, she's chopping up the purple fruit.
Oh yes.
Okay, so
very strange.
So what do you make of this?
I mean, I kind of like the story, but I was wondering what the point is, and I assume it has something to do with the baby. And I was trying to think if baby planeswalked, what do we know that has purple fruit? Like what plane has purple star-shaped fruit? And I have no idea.
So it'd be a tropical-ish place. Ixalan, potentially.
Maybe. Like maybe Alara? Someplace in Alara too?
Maybe.
But
either
anyways,
way, yeah. We don't know. We're not gonna know.
That's what I was wondering. What is the point of the story? What's it telling? Because it's obviously focused on the baby more than anything else at the end there.
For sure. And that was, I mean, I think that was my only issue with the story. Like I liked the story, but I felt like the first half was almost meaningless. Like we were kind of misdirected to thinking like, oh, we care about the guy. We care about Merit, right? Okay, yes, well, actually, Merit's not important at all. In fact, not only is Merit not important, Merit is specifically unimportant. Merit is only important because Merit has a baby.
And he's loser. Like the whole time they're saying like
they pound that into the dirt for sure.
Yeah, he basically saying like he's part of the Demir, but he's like the lowest of the low.
Lowest rank.
And so so I'm going to think, okay, he's going to be like some kind of hero. He's going to do something and become great. Nope, he's still low.
Yeah, so it's like weird because like the first half of the story, it's literally just focused on Merit, and then just this basically like a kind of like a day in the life of Merit. But then when we start talking about the baby, it becomes clear. Oh no, Merit is only a character in the story because Merit had the baby. Merit and Tashi had the baby, and they're just props for the baby's existence. That's what it seemed like to me anyway. So, do we think the baby's a planeswalker? Probably.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Originally, I was talking to you. I was like, maybe it's a Trada the silencer because Trada can't be blocked, and she's
which
able
I
like
that theory, but then we were like, well, it's a boy. But
then I realized baby's a boy. Yeah, so
it does fit for a planeswalker spark igniting because. I mean, that's certainly a traumatic experience that can happen at any point in your life. I would say as a baby being like ripped out of your parents' arms.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen a baby become a planeswalker. A baby planeswalker, yeah. Maybe. I mean, all like signs point to a baby planeswalker, but so the powers of the child, he basically choked the Minotaur, and he made the candles burst more into flame. So
Some sort of mind
trying to
related
think.
power for sure. Some sort of mind related
think.
power for sure.
Yeah, but I can't tell if it's because of the elixir,
It's hard to tell. It's,
or
it's
if it's
hard
his
to tell.
power. But elixir doesn't give you power. Elixir enhances what you know or
Yes.
focus. So there's obviously things that he's so maybe some sort of
And
blue red
it's not,
flintlock or
and
some
it's not
sort of
necessarily a
is it?
focus thing because the baby's not focusing on anything. The baby's just instinctual.
Yeah,
Babies are just all instinctual. So
yeah,
it's just kind of going to its instincts, and then if it has innate powers, which it seems like this baby does, then it's just able to focus. I'm using that term lightly, but maybe to have a more concentrated effort in the use of its powers on accident when it's reacting to something, because that's all babies are just react. They're reactionary, react to everything.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. I mean, I do think that this was written specifically to keep it vague, obviously, because we're talking about the Dimir, for
Yeah.
reason one, and two. This is something maybe in a couple of years they could go back and be like,
Shh. Hey. Easy.
I think Maggie wants to eat the baby. That's what it sounds like.
I think she's trying to guard me from the mirror.
Maybe if they're
Sorry.
in the room. Do you? I guess you wouldn't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she stopped barking, so maybe they convinced her that they're not in the room.
But this is something that could go back in 4 years and be like, hey, remember that baby from 4 years ago in that random magic story that didn't connect to anything?
Bam, boom,
Guess
boom.
what? It's a planeswalker, and now it's the most important thing.
It's Kaya Ghost Assassin.
It could be anything. It could be anything.
Yeah. My favorite part of the story wasn't the baby. It was actually just seeing Lazav in action.
At the very end.
That was kind of nice. Yeah, and I understand he was like kind of like a jerk and.
No, I think that seemed.
But,
I think that seemed very on brand for Lazav. He's not
Lazav,
being too much of a jerk. I mean, he's like we're because this babe will astound us in every way you've disappointed us. He says, "You won't have my son." He's like, "Oh, that's fine. We don't want your son. Well, we'll just train him because you're worthless and your son's special. So we're just going to make sure that your son's taken care of and doesn't turn out to like an idiot like you."
Yeah, and also take care of you and your daughter and everything, and your family basically. You shouldn't remember any of this.
No. I'm going to tell you out of respect. I don't have to because he certainly didn't. He could just show up and snap his fingers. Probably not even snap them and just make all of this happen. So at least he had the courtesy to just kind of give them a little bit of info before he made them forget it. But still, it's better than nothing, right?
Yeah, it is, I guess.
I mean, it's
it is. It is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what they got. All right. What do you think? Which one do you think next week? You want to take a guess?
Dimir first. Probably something boring like Boros.
Something boring like Boros. Why is Boros going to be boring? Boros could be exciting.
I don't care about Boros. I care about.
I think we're gonna get Selesnya next week.
I hope so.
I think it's gonna go.
Boros is like the one I'm least intrigued. Like Div-Visit, I think is the next one I really want to.
I'm gonna try to.
Or not.
I'm gonna try to guess the. I'm gonna try to guess the order. You ready? All right.
Yeah.
I want everyone to pay attention in case I'm right, and if I'm wrong, then just to forget about it. So we're gonna go Dimir, then Selesnya, then Izzet, then Golgari, then Boros.
Then Boros. Perfect. The worst for last.
Yeah, it is the worst.
No one cares about Boros.
It's fine. Someone's got to be.
The Legion of boring.
I would rather hear Boros than Selesnya, personally, but no. I mean, I'm not excited about either of them.
I'm just cool to see just. I mean, I think Tristani's an interesting character in of herself itself.
I guess. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. So you're saying you think Boros next week?
I think next week, Boros into Izzet, into Selesnya, into Golgari last. Because I think they might weave in Vraska last to lead on to the next guild allegiance.
It's true. That could make sense.
Big Big brain. Big
Yeah,
brain.
smart. Yeah, smart's kid. Okay. All right. So that's it for Medic Story this week. We'll get our little low level street level Ravnica story back next week. So, all right, we have one more segment for you, and Ollie and I both saw a movie in the last week that I personally was really excited about seeing. I don't know if Ollie was, but I guess that's what we're gonna do is talk about it to find out. Last week we saw Venom. We'll be back in just a moment to discuss. So, Ali Aintrazi.
Justin Parnell.
That's
Parnell.
So we saw Venom, and we're gonna do non-spoilers, and then do spoilers at some point. So, I wanna start off with just. I'm sure I've said this a few times before, but just for new listeners, my relationship with this character in particular is kind of similar to my relationship with a lot of Marvel characters. This is something that I grew up reading comics, watching TV, had 1,000 action figures, had tons of games. So Marvel is close, near, and dear to my heart, and has been really for the entirety of my life since I was able to read. So probably my favorite character is Spider-Man, just in general in the Marvel Universe. So Venom is one of Spider-Man's greatest villains, and specifically for a kid that grew up in the 90s, arguably the most popular villain, because that's kind of when Venom became like incredibly popular, was in the 90s. So I don't want to say I had high expectations for the movies, but I know in my heart I really wanted it to be good, because this is only the second time that we've seen Venom on the big screen, with the first time being a disappointing portrayal by Topher Grace, not his fault, in a Spider-Man movie that I had fun with that's not that great, Spider-Man 3 with the Tobey Maguire one.
So I got my Venom intake. I like Venom too. I watched a lot of Spider-Man TV show back on WB growing up.
The animated series.
Yeah,
it's really good. That's actually a really good show.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. I thought the X-Men was good too on there too. But anyways,
yeah, it's actually incredible that both those shows ran. They crossed over in time. Like they were actually on TV at the same
phenomenal.
time. They're both exceptional cartoons. Yeah, they're really good. They're both like legitimately good.
Yeah, I like both of them, and that's where I knew Venom from. So I also love Venom, as well. I just like the whole. I like Venom more on Brock than I do on Spider-Man. Like obviously Venom, the symbiote attaches to Spider-Man, he becomes black. I liked it much more on Brock. So
Brock.
And Venom was just a huge. I love Venom too, just because of what he is.
He's a cool character. He's a super cool character. Yeah. He's actually one of the best thought out characters that Marvel has had, especially in the 80s and 90s, where they were doing a lot of dartboard throwing and kind of like introducing characters to see if they stuck. And Venom
was a hit.
And what definitely was a hit for sure. But the symbiote specifically was actually something that was pretty well thought out, that they did, that kind of took them a while to introduce. So I remember specifically growing up as some of the first like comic books that I read. So
before we
yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead. I'm kind of collecting my thoughts before I.
I was going to say, do you want to give us our rating for people that are here just for spoilers?
So I have a couple more things to say before spoilers. I really enjoyed Riz Ahmed and Tom Hardy. Riz Ahmed played Carlton Drake, which was the main villain. Tom Hardy played Eddie Brock, which is obviously the main protagonist. But I thought they were both great. Tom Hardy had to, that guy had to sweat so much in this movie. He literally was sweaty the whole movie. Like in every single scene, he was sweaty, and I do not believe that I'm exaggerating. Like I legit believe he sweated the whole time.
I wonder why.
Well, I mean, we know why. Because he was running about. We'll say that. Running about the whole movie. So initially when I watched this movie, I hated it. Which hurt me a lot. And I think they got a lot of things right in this movie, but I think they got a lot of things wrong. And the wrong things outweighed the right things for me, which when I was watching the movie and after the movie as I was thinking about it, it actually like frustrated me a lot, because there's a important, and I don't think this isn't really a spoiler, but there's an important thing that's missing from this movie that makes the Venom character what it is, and it's really simple, and that's Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, sure.
You can't. I understand this is an adaptation from comics, and you're basically telling a story of a character where you're taking some parts of the character and you're kind of creating a new story. But that's like saying to have Venom without having Spider-Man is to like saying you're going to have the X-Men without
or have
Charles
Justin
Xavier.
Parnell with Ali Aintrazi. Like, we're trying to do.
They don't work without each other. Well, Spider-Man can work without Venom, but Venom actually doesn't. It's not the same character without Spider-Man. Like, it's functionally not the same character, which I guess I can get into now because this isn't spoilers. This is old comic book stuff. So Venom in the comics is the symbiote. We'll just call it the symbiote first because this is how it was introduced. So Spider-Man in the comic book run in the 80s goes to a place called Battleworld. And there's a bunch of characters and they're all fighting. It's like a bunch of heroes fighting villains. And at some point, Spider-Man's suit gets basically just trashed, and he doesn't have one because he's in space. And he goes, and I don't remember the specific details, but he goes somewhere and like needs like to get a new suit. And instead of getting a new suit, well, he does get a new suit, but it's what turns out to be the symbiote. And it goes on to him and basically becomes his suit. He doesn't really know what it is. So then he goes back to New York and starts, and by the time, this is like a crossover event, and then by the time he gets back to New York, it's just back in the regular Spider-Man comic, and he just starts feeling different, but realizes that he's more powerful, and at some point realizes that the suit is not actually a suit, but it's something living. He realizes this because he wakes up tired every day. And then we realize that the suit is actually kind of taking over, and he's going out at night and doing stuff. And he's doing Spider-Man stuff like basically capturing criminals or fighting crime, but he is like fighting it like Punisher style, not Spider-Man style.
Yeah, he's more aggressive.
Way more aggressive. So Spider-Man realizes this and ultimately wants the suit off of him, figures out what the weaknesses are, and uses sound, which is what symbiotes are. The things that they do not like is like high frequency noise at some point, and basically gets the symbiote off of him. Shortly afterwards, Eddie Brock, who has a different backstory, comes up, and the suit bonds to him. And Eddie Brock hates Spider-Man. Eddie Brock was a journalist and felt like that something happened. I wish I remember the specifics. I probably have to look it up, but I'm just going to keep talking. That Spider-Man basically, like, Eddie Brock was as a journalist that was like trying to put together a story and thought he had a detail of the story right, and then goes to like make a big deal of the story, and then Spider-Man does something that changes what it is.
In the
changes
show,
what the
I think he
is.
just like
And
basically steals his girl.
I think it's still more with I think it's still journalistic
Anyways,
something. But and this embarrasses basically like embarrasses Eddie to the point where he's not like a credible journalist. So he changes. Eddie Brock is actually like he's a really interesting character because he's not a bad guy, but he's not a good guy. He kind of just is like he's trying to get by, and he's a very proud person, but he becomes very depressed and angry.
Lawful, chaotic.
And he hates Spider-Man. And he goes to a really dark place internally because of his hatred of Spider-Man. He blames Spider-Man for everything that's wrong in his life. His wife leaves him. He becomes really depressed. He becomes like really like socially anxious. And then when he is in this spot, the symbiote finds him. The symbiote, because the symbiote has can think and has is basically sentient as well, also hates Spider-Man because Spider-Man was basically the symbiote believes that Spider-Man thought that it wasn't good enough for him, and was upset because it's basically being cast out, saying, I don't want you anymore, even though the symbiote was like, no, we're a good team. I'm making you, this is what he's thinking, symbiote to itself, is like, I'm making you stronger. You're allowing me to live because, the symbiotes do have to have hosts to be able to live. And gets onto Eddie Brock, and they're combined strengthened by the fact that they both hate Spider. And this is something that fuels Venom as a core of its character, of this character's, it fuels this character's core. Like, this is one of the main traits of Venom is that it hates Spider-Man. Like, viciously. Eddie Brock hates it. The symbiote hates it. They hate Spider-Man. And this is something that makes Venom and makes that character what it is and what that character is tick. And that is not present in this movie, and that's a big, big problem for me. Now, there's no way they could have done it because they don't have access to Spider-Man right now, which is fine. I get it. But there's so many things that they couldn't do or changed or just made up off the top of their head to try to explain things that are simply explained by that connection that you just do not have. And it pissed me off, and still pissing me off thinking about it. And I'm going to get to more of those details and spoilers when I'm talking about this movie. But I will just say that it doesn't have this. Spider-Man's not in this movie. I guess that's a spoiler, but not really.
No, you should know that, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think it's widely known. But because of that, I initially rated this movie a 2. But I've since thought about it and really carefully considered it. And sorry, I was writing notes, like on our, we write notes for the show, and actually thought about it and made like pros and cons. And I was like, this movie's probably a 3 because the things it got right, it did great on, and things it got wrong, it did awful on. So I'm gonna say a 3, but I'm mad at it, an angry 3.
Okay, I was gonna 3.5. I actually liked it for what it was. I didn't expect too much out of it. I thought it was gonna be awful, but I enjoyed it. I just we went along for the ride. There were some questions I had, but overall, it was good. Like, Rotten Tomatoes gave like a 20%. I was like, oh my god, this would be awful. But I actually enjoyed it. So,
yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad you liked it. I don't want to say I've liked it more, but I hate it less than I did. It's not a bad movie, but I just had so many problems, continuity issues for me that people that are not like as ingrained in this character probably don't have. So that probably affects them less. Okay.
Yep.
All right, you ready to go to spoilers?
Boop.
All right, cool.
Boop.
Spoiler warning.
Boop.
Spoiler warning.
Boop.
Spoiler warning.
Boop. Boop. All right, we're in spoiler. We're now in spoiler territory.
All right, we're in the spoiler zone. All right, you want to start?
Start. I just my biggest thing is,
all right.
When did Venom start eating people? Did he ever eat people? Did he?
Yeah.
It made it seem like Venom
Yeah.
had to for sustenance. He had to like eat people, or live, or like flesh, or
Live things.
Has that always been a thing?
Likes. Always no, but when they were like darkening the character,
okay.
like when they were fleshing it out in the early '90s, that was somewhat of a thing. That it would bite people. It's big on biting. I don't want to say eating, but it bit people a lot. Like
well, it's straight out ate like 2 people in this movie, so straight up ate 2 people. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Which is fine. It's enough. It's enough into Venom that I'm that
didn't
actually
bother me. I was just confused about it. Like,
I think Venom's eaten.
I remember this happening in the TV show. But yeah, that was my thing.
Well, it probably didn't happen in the TV show because that's kind of dark. Literally just eating.
Well, yeah,
a person.
that's why I never saw it. That's why I did. Yeah, that's why I was confused about it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Other than that, like, my last thing is the ending, but we'll get to that. Yeah,
we'll get to that. Yeah. We'll definitely get to that. Okay, all right. So the stuff I got right. The relationship with Eddie Brock's fiance, I actually thought was pretty good because in the comic that's his wife, Anne Wang, but their relationship is similar. So I was down with it, and she basically acts the same way, and in the comics leaves him because he gets depressed and he basically turns to since he loses credibility as a journalist, he starts to just take basically like mudslinging journal jobs. You know when you see like tabloid type journalism?
No.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so tabloids are like ridiculous stories on people that are not necessarily all based in fact, or you've seen stuff like secret flying saucer lands in New Mexico the government won't tell you about. He's doing anything he can. Okay, so that was kind of close because after the incident happened where he lost his job, he kind of does this downward spiral, which is good because that's another thing that I did like is they got Eddie Brock pretty good with how he is as a person, because he part of the reason that the symbiote got onto him in the first place is the symbiote could feel like the darkness and depression, because Eddie Brock was like legit depressed, like after all of this happened, they blamed Spider-Man for it. That's hometown right. He's from San Francisco originally, went to New York to be a great journalist, worked for the Daily Globe, which they mentioned. And then they said he came back after the incident happened. Now, they didn't say what the incident was. The reason for this is I think they're going to try to shoehorn Spider-Man back in at some point if they can. The thing is they can't because they already messed it up. It's too far gone. Like, you can't just introduce Spider-Man after Venom exists. Like, that's going to be bad storytelling. That's just not going to work out. So that pissed me off. So they got his work history right, which I appreciated, that he was at least a journalist and kind of had this path from San Francisco to New York. Never went back to San Francisco, kind of just stayed in New York. But the fact of what he did was more or less correct. The symbiote exclusive ability. So when it was Venom, what it could do, a lot of those were right, but a lot of those were wrong, which I'll get to in a bit. As far as like its ability to change shape and heal people, that's a big thing that's always been able to do. Is it doesn't, and the thing is, like, science hasn't initially didn't understand it because it thought it was eating people. It actually is not. It's actually just becoming, both physically and mentally, they are just getting closer and closer together as one being. So Eddie Brock and the Venom symbiote are slowly becoming one thing. So that means mentally
Yeah.
and physically.
Which is why
So
you hear it say, or that they say, like, we are Venom instead of I am.
yes, which is
Yeah.
a famous Venom line. That's a very famous Venom line. Glad they said it. It's good they said it once in the movie. Being able to have the symbiote talk to Eddie Brock in his head, that's really important because that's a big thing. Where eventually it's kind of just like concurrent thought rather than it sounds like
Yeah.
talking back and forth. The fact that the symbiote could kind of go off independently for a short time is also something that can happen, which it kind of did for both Venom and Riot in the movie. Like where its face turned around. That's something it can actually do. That's not like a visual trick that the symbiote's doing. Like that's something it can actually do as long as it's on the host, which it is. Symbiotes, I like that. So the humans in the movie called them parasites, which they're not, but they are. They're not actually parasites because they're not trying to leech resources off of something. They just need to be. They need to have a host to live outside of their home world. So they're not necessarily parasites, but they have to be
to live.
They're and their goal is to just be as they basically just want to live, just like any creature does, and their way of doing that is becoming more and more combined with whatever creature that they're on. So, and like I said, that eventually over time makes the symbiote and the host closer and closer into one organism rather than two. They'll never fully be one, but as far as being able to think the same, act the same, the symbiotes have independent personalities, which is cool, but they don't really have motives. They're just creatures that are trying to live just like everything else. Initially, now, they could obviously develop those over time, like the original symbiote does with Spider-Man, where it resents Spider-Man because it thought that cast it out.
What was the symbiote Venom was fighting against?
Riot in the movie. Yeah, so that's not exactly like how it happened in the comic, but that's for storytelling. I'm okay with that because actually in the comics, there's a handful of symbiotes that are like bred from Venom. Like a part of Venom gets basically chopped off and becomes its own symbiote. So that's how like a lot of the other ones started on Earth. So Riot, I think Riot was actually one of those, like one of them that named itself Riot. So those are all things got right. Also, Venom, the actual Venom, when you saw that character, looked amazing.
Yeah, it did. I liked it.
Like, I thought it looked incredible. Like I thought that was fantastic. All right, things got wrong, and unfortunately, these pissed me off more than the things that got right made me happy, which is my issue. A lot of my issue with this movie. So the biggest one, and this one pissed me off the most, is the symbiote reasoning. Like the reason we got to stop Riot because what does Riot want to do? Riot wants to take over the Earth. No, that's not a thing that they think. That's not like a. That's like saying a mosquito drinks your blood because it wants to take over the world. Like that's literally what that is saying, and that is not the case. That's not what the symbiotes are thinking. Like that's not how they're set up. They're literally just trying to live, and any thoughts that might be come from the host. So they're not only that, but the symbiotes didn't willingly come to Earth. They were literally taken to Earth. That's like saying, I've been trying to conquer Mars for years. I have no way of getting to Mars, but I've really been trying to conquer it. Well, no, that is total BS. Doesn't make any sense at all. Like these symbiotes were literally taken to Earth, and now one of them wants to take over. What? This literally makes no sense, and even in the context of the movie.
Yeah.
Out of the context of the movie, it makes even less sense because that's literally just not how they're set up. And I think that's really stupid if they go down that path.
I think you're right. Like they captured the symbiotes and brought them to Earth. It's not like the symbiotes were invading Earth or anything. Even like news story wise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're just not. That's just not how they operate. Like it's just that is not a core being of that organism at all. It is literally just hosting so it can live and and flourish just like any other organism would. Second thing that on that same level is at one point Venom says to Eddie Brock, he's like, well, on the homeworld, I'm kind of a loser like you. No, no. Again, that's not how it works. Like, that's like saying a dog won't hang out with another dog because one of the dogs thinks the other dog is a loser.
Sure.
Like, that it's not. I don't even know how to describe like how wrong that is. Like, it's not like there's like a symbiote party and one of the symbiotes doesn't invite the other symbiote because they think the other symbiote is a loser. No, these are literally just life-grabbing organisms that have thought. But it's thought as far as like emotion, not like critical thinking when they're comparing each other and why. Like, that is literally just not how it works. Just, again, at all. You're trying to create these things into something that they're simply just not, because you're missing the critical component to how all of this works, which is Spider-Man, which I will still get to in a second. Next thing that I did not like was the fact that they touched on Eddie Brock as far as how he was kind of got depressed after he lost his job, and they did do, because like, I don't want to say that Eddie Brock is like not a bad person, but he's like an opportunist. So I did like that he ultimately, what happened is he had a story like with Carlton Drake, and then he went on his girlfriend's or his fiance's computer and like broke in and got that story, right? And that's something that Eddie Brock definitely would have done, because it's like he just wants the story, and it doesn't matter what it takes to get it. But I wish they would have shown that afterwards, because that's something that pushed him further and further into how like upset and angry he was as a person. And instead, he just kind of gave up and didn't care about anything, which is, I guess, is fine, but that goes at odds against why the Venom symbiote attached to him so well, is because they felt the same way. Like, otherwise, the Eddie Brock and the Venom symbiote in this movie are just completely different. So it's just happenstance that the Venom symbiote likes him or works with him.
It's definitely a different take.
Yeah, and the thing, but now, what are you? Because at the end of this movie, why do those two characters, the Venom symbiote and Eddie Brock, why did they match up? Because they shouldn't have, based on how Eddie Brock was and how the Venom symbiote was.
I didn't get that.
Like, the only reasoning was they were like, oh, I like the Venom symbiote likes Eddie Brock.
Right.
They just said that. They're like, oh, that's good enough. We'll just say that.
I didn't go down that far down the rabbit hole. It's like, okay, I'm enjoying this. That's where I took it.
And then also, like, why is the Venom symbiote aggressive? Like, it's aggressive. Like, it's kind of aggressive by nature, but again, this goes into the big thing I'm going to talk about in a second. Is it doesn't have a reason to be aggressive. I guess because like they're trying to like hunt Eddie Brock down, but it seemed really loose, because the aggression had to come from somewhere. Like, in the comics, it comes from a feeling that it's been ruined by Spider-Man. Same with Eddie Brock, which is why they work. Again, like, this is a really critical component. I keep talking about this, which gets me to my last thing. The Venom symbiote in this movie had powers that it could not have had, period. The symbiote learns from the host just like the host learns from the symbiote. However, this Venom had powers in this movie it literally cannot have, because it learned those powers from Spider-Man. Did you notice how the Venom symbiote basically had precognition when things were about to happen? Yeah. Don't open that door. 3 seconds later, knock on the door. All of that stuff.
Spider sense.
That's Spider Sense that it learned from Spider-Man. It literally learned that when it was hosting, when Spider-Man was its host. And it retained that.
And they gave it
Like, that's the part that pisses me off. It literally learned that from Spider-Man specifically. That's not something that all symbiotes have. The Venom symbiote has that because it imprinted on Spider-Man for so long. It literally learned Spider-Man's spider sense.
Huh.
So you don't just get that. You don't just get to have that just out of nowhere. Same with some of its tendrilness, like when it's moving
that's
around.
From Spider-Man too.
That also got from Spider-Man specifically. Like, they don't just get to have this. They can't just like throw this on, be like out of nowhere, because then you're saying, oh, only this symbiote can do it, or all symbiotes can do it. You got to pick one. And if this symbiote can do it, so what happens in the future when Spider-Man shows up? Oh, these two characters are magically very similar, even though they've never interacted before.
That's something I really put together, but that's interesting. It's also kind of weird, kind of cool too, like when Venom was fighting Riot, and Riot had different powers than Venom, like the way he was able to summon his like weapons or whatever.
Yeah, and to be fair, the symbiotes do have some differences in abilities, but it's not those abilities, like not that dramatic. Like, for example, you saw Venom turn his arms into weapons throughout the movie, right? And Riot could just do that, but it's just to a greater degree. Riot, it's not like Venom can turn his arms into weapons that are like hammers and axes, and then Riot can turn his arms into weapons and they're tanks and machine guns, right? Like, those are just two different things, even though they're both weapons. So that's fine that it can slightly alter what it's able to do, but it's in the same context. But this Venom symbiote literally had powers without any context, for no reason, that were specifically connected to Spider-Man's abilities that it learned from Spider-Man, and then they just added it to the movie because they wanted to.
YOLO. I'm sorry, Parnell.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I guess. So, and this is why these are the things that frustrated me, because it's like,
I know.
Well, this is stuff that I know
from reading the comics
in my heart. Yeah, because it's like, man, this is and the thing. The biggest frustration is like, this is level 1 stuff. The reason that this character is so great is because it's kind of like Venom is not it's not a bad guy. Like, Venom is not like an evil character, but it hates Spider-Man, and that's what drives it. So ultimately, it does things, and Eddie Brock and Venom combined do things to get at Spider-Man to try to beat Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right? So, Spider-Man, you don't want me to kidnap this person and like torture them? Well, I'm going to do that because you don't want me to do that, and I need to get your attention. But Venom's not going to go around like just killing people on the street randomly. In fact, quite the opposite. Like, Venom actually kind of showed that it was specifically wants to avoid hurting people if it can, but it doesn't not do that if it has a greater means to the end, which there's a reason for it, because again, Spider-Man, which I keep saying over and over, because I don't want to undersell how critically important it is to this character's existence.
All right, let's real quick talk about the
post-credit scene. Great, cool. I want to get more frustrated.
Okay. So at the end,
no, go ahead, have at it.
It shows. I don't know too much about Carnage, but I know the host is basically a psychotic person, which, as soon as
Cletus Cassidy is a literal serial killer, a
psychopath.
Psychopath serial killer. Like, literally, he's literally crazy.
Yeah. And I know that's who Carnage attaches from. That's who attaches to, and Carnage is an offspring of Venom.
Yes. Yeah. Also correct.
And like, Venom basically has like seven kids or 7 other symbiotes, and
and
Carnage is one of them.
Carnage is one of them, and so this is the great thing.
Do you know
Eddie Brock goes
how
to jail.
symbiotes name themselves?
So at first, and this is also going to be part of my frustration with this scene, which it's so incredible that in the 20-second scene that I found so much to hate about it, but I did. Okay, so in the comics, initially, the host named them, but they kind of retconned that to where they named themselves. So that's kind of what they do now.
Okay.
So for the last 30 years, they've named themselves. Like, the symbiotes have named themselves. and in this movie, that's what happened. So that's fine. That's totally fine. Like if that's how you want to do it. I actually think that makes more sense because they are like sentient beings. So they would name themselves. So yeah, Venom named itself Venom, Riot named itself Riot, etc. So in the comics, and this you have to do this because this is also critically important to Carnage. Is that while Eddie Brock is in jail with the Venom symbiote, but they don't break out of jail because they're plotting how to like get Spider-Man. And part of the Venom symbiote breaks off and attaches itself to Cletus Cassidy, who is again legit crazy psycho. So that symbiote becomes Carnage. Together, because they know each other. Not from a journalist, but because they were cellmates. The reason that Carnage and Cletus doesn't care for Eddie Brock necessarily is because Eddie Brock is trying to be reasonable, saying like, no, I want to kill Spider-Man. I don't want to kill everyone else. I just need to kill Spider-Man. If a couple other people die along the way, so be it, but that's not my goal. And Cletus Cassidy is like, sounds like you're not willing to do whatever you need to do. And I'm willing to do whatever I need to do. So I'll help you. And Eddie Brock's like, no, I don't want your help. You're a crazy person. You'll kill anyone. So then Cletus Cassidy's like, well, screw you. And then happens to get the symbiote. And the symbiote also is, for whatever reason, is like all equally crazy. So you have a literal crazy symbiote and a literal crazy person to create a Carnage, who's crazy, also crazy, also a rampaging murderer. Unlike Venom, Carnage will murder people in cold blood, frequently and willingly. Yeah. So what was your question? Sorry.
I mean, I asked how they name themselves, but that's basically it. You told me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that was my issue. So so in this movie, here's something we know for a fact, is that the Venom symbiote, based on Venom and Riot, the symbiotes name themselves, right? Yeah, because we heard, like, who are you? I'm Venom. And then it's like, this is Riot. We need to go stop Riot. Okay, symbiotes name themselves. Totally got it. That makes absolute sense. So at the very end of the movie, when you see Woody Harrelson in that absolutely ridiculous wig,
the red hair,
he goes, I can promise you there's going to be carnage. So you're telling me that that Cletus Cassidy character said the tagline is going to be carnage, and then in the future, he's just going to accidentally get linked up with a symbiote that's named Carnage, and that was a coincidence? Yeah. You're telling me that's going to be a coincidence? It's not a teaser. It's stupid. I understand. I got it. They laid it on awfully thick. But the fact that you literally said the name of a symbiote you don't have yet. So it's just going to be a coincidence when the Carnage symbiote attaches to him, right? And he just happened to say that? That's stupid. That's insulting my intelligence. And it's insulting your intelligence.
So, does Carnage hate Venom?
Carnage is crazy. Carnage doesn't specifically hate Venom. Recognizes Venom as its father, putting air quotes around that.
Doesn't it like fight Venom at one point?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Venom and Spider-Man are fighting as usual. And Spider-Man beats Venom and like puts Venom on like an island that can't get off of. And then Carnage is like basically doing murder stuff in New York. Spider-Man tries to fight Carnage, not willing to kill Carnage, not to the degree that like to just destroy this person, because Spider-Man's not a killer. Spider-Man's not going to kill Cletus Cassidy. And realizes that he cannot beat Carnage alone, and then goes to get Venom. And is like, hey man, we can keep fighting afterwards, but you have to help me beat this crazy person. He's like, that is fine. I'll help you beat this literal crazy person.
Okay, yeah.
So then they do team up to do that.
So basically, Carnage can.
Yeah.
Carnage is stronger than Spider-Man, or just too crazy.
He's willing
to kill.
Carnage is willing to do anything.
Okay.
He's literally Carnage is literally willing. Like he's a literal serial killer. So it's I don't even know how to explain. It's not that he's like stronger.
But he has
necessarily.
He has no boundaries.
Like
nothing stopping him. So he just literally do whatever. So he's not stronger, but he has nothing holding him. He has no morals. He has no cares. Like nothing holding him back. So he's able to go 100%.
Well, and because a symbiote's power is based on, like, as far as like when it's in a host, is based on the link between the host and the symbiote, right? The stronger that is, the more powerful they'll both become collectively. So if the host is fully buying in, like 100% buying in to the symbiote, and vice versa, then they're going to be like ultra powerful. So that's why Spider-Man at the beginning did not realize like the symbiote was in it, and he was just like, this is like, I'm like felt so powerful, but I'm also really angry because the Venom is like angry, but not like in a evil way, but just angry. So Carnage, the symbiote Carnage, is also like very extremely aggressive, and Cletus Cassidy is literal crazy serial killer. So they're like, if we were like doing like a rank of 1 to 100, Venom and Eddie Brock's link is like 80, and Cletus Cassidy and Carnage is like a 99. So, and Cletus Cassidy is just more, again, has no inhibitions. Will do anything. Will murder anyone. And that's like exactly what happened. As soon as Cletus Cassidy got the symbiote, immediately broke out of jail and just started murdering people. Just straight up.
That's... I just think that whole symbiote thing is kind of cool. Because there's more too. There's like... Venom has like, I don't know, multiple offspring. And then I think like in the show, I think Carnage is about to have an offspring, but he's also like, you know what? I'm gonna have this. I'm also gonna kill I'm gonna kill it as soon as it's born or something. Ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So people might be asking, well, if Carnage is an offspring of Venom, why is it not the same color? Well, it is, but Cletus Cassidy, in addition to being crazy, like cuts himself, which you actually see in the end, which I will say, because he like cuts his hands so he can like draw on his own blood, because he's, again, crazy. And that's how the symbiote links into Cassidy, is actually goes through in one of his like cuts on his hands. So it like gets fused with his blood, because that's how it grows, basically grows in him through his like blood. So then that's why it comes out red.
Gotcha. Huh. Interesting. Like I'm glad they made another Carnage movie. I like this a lot more than the other one, but obviously this is like more of a Carnage movie. But I'm kind of excited to see more of where they take it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. As much as I was frustrated with this movie, I will 100% go see it.
Yeah.
Like immediately, like I will go see it the first weekend, because just because I was frustrated with this doesn't mean that in the future that that some of these things can't be addressed and fixed. Even though they've gone down a path they can't undo as far as not having Spider-Man, but I'm willing to. I want to try to give it a chance.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like it. I just like the whole Venom character in general.
Oh, good. I think we talked about Venom for a really long time.
I think you started. You were like,
I think I did.
It's
too.
okay.
You guys can tell me if I ranted. I literally, is it off my chest? I can't say that. but I do feel a little bit better. Maybe just a tiny bit. Tiny little bit better. Okay, all right. Okay, I guess that's the show for this week, guys. I'm sorry if I ranted. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. This is something that is very near and dear to my heart again, so I do like talking about stuff that I like and actually know about personally, so I guess that's good. All right, that's it. That's the show. We'll be back in just a second with Question of the Week. All right, y'all, question of the week. You ready?
I am ready. Question of the week.
Question of the week. So, you and I talked about underrated Guilds of Ravnica cards earlier, and
yes,
inevitably, probably, maybe one of them will break out faster than the rest.
Yeah, and it's obviously going to be Snap Crackling Drake.
Snap Crackling Pop Drake.
Yes.
Now, I do believe this is my favorite card among them, but I do not believe it's going to be Crackling Drake that's going to break out first.
I think it's Crackling Drake because, you know, at the worst, it replaces itself. You can't go wrong with that, okay? And at best, you tap it, and your opponent dies.
Okay, that's pretty high upside.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, sometimes when reading this Snap Crackle Pops, like you eat one, like one pops your mouth and like you blister your mouth because you ate too many. Like, yes, exactly.
It's similar to that.
Yeah, do you remember Pop Rocks? When people used to drink, like when it first came out, that eat Pop Rocks and drink Coca-Cola, then some kids died because it was too crackling, too poppy.
I'm sure. Yeah, that sounds exactly right.
That's gonna happen. Okay, it's gonna crack some people's faces out and kill them with Coke and
wow, that got really dark. While I do like Crackling Drake quite a bit, I do not believe it's going to be the fastest card to break out. I think the card that's going to break out faster has the best keyword in the entire set of Guilds of Ravnica on it, and that is connive and concoct. Because you and I both know that surveil is where you want to be.
I like some surveilling. I'm not lying. So I can respect that. But I do think the Snap Crackle Pop is gonna beat it. But
yeah, but this is
you know
this is two different modes.
I can respect the answer too.
Crackling Drake's two modes are attack and block, and while that's great, look, Tarmogoyf has made a career out of those two modes.
Yeah.
Connive and Concoct is two wildly different cards. Something you can play in a Reanimator style deck and just a control deck. And as we mentioned earlier, you can play this in almost mono blue or mono black and just barely splash a teensy little bit of one of the other cards, of one of the other colors.
Yeah,
it also goes well. It also goes very well with. Actually, both of these cards go very well. This card goes very well with Discovery and Dispersal, but so does Crackling Drake. So that's not really.
Yeah, they're both winners. They're both winners with Surveil.
Yeah, no doubt. So. All he says,
maybe you can concoct and then reanimate Crackling Drake.
That sounds pretty good. See, I like this. And then if your opponent plays Crackling Drake, but they don't have a good Crackling Drake deck, you can connive, take their Crackling Drake, and then it'll become gigantic on your side.
Yeah, and your Crackling Drake is bigger because you've surveilled 3 cards in
because you're
two
smart
or sorcery.
Because you're smart.
And another one is Drake. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Well, either way, the people must vote. Crackling Drake or Connive Concoct, which will break out first? Ollie, where can people find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/Ali Aintrazi, twitter.com/Ali Aintrazi, coolstuffinc.com. Articles come out every Friday. That's where you can find my 5-color Rainbow Lich article there. So, and you can find me on YouTube, where Thinktwice YouTube, where there's some videos of me playing some sweet decks.
Yep. You can find me on Twitter as well, JParnell1 on Twitter. I'm also the host of the Commanderverse on StarCityGames.com on YouTube. Our season just started. Season 13, we had a really short break, so you should go check it out. We played some Guild of Ravnica Legends, and I was very happy with my deck. I'm not going to tell you what happened if you haven't seen it, but you should go check it out. If you want to contact the show directly, you can do so. ThinkTwiceMTG on Twitter and ThinkTwiceMTG@gmail.com if you'd like to email us. You can find the show on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music. Please leave us a review or a 5-star comment or a like or a subscribe or a share. Any of those things. That's all great. We'd love you. We'd love you so many times if you just do that for us.
In a long time.
Also that. As Ollie said earlier, if you want to support the show, you can go and watch our videos on youtube.com/thinktwicemtg. Ollie is doing he's doing his brews. So he's doing his brews, posting those on youtube.com/thinktwicemtg. I'm doing a free-to-play arena series where I do not spend any money and see what I can do without spending a single dime on the game. Both of those, youtube.com/thinktwicemtg. Give that a subscribe and a share as well. If you want to support the show outside of that, go to patreon.com/thinktwicemtg. We have a lot of great reward tiers, including our $1 tier, which gets you early access to the show, gets you access to our Discord channel where we've been talking about all sorts of shenanigans, as well as getting a sweet set of Ollie and Justin tokens. Now, as we said earlier, we have a lot of different Disciple of Bolus supporters for this week. Peter M., John M., Robert C., Jimmy K., Zach, Damian M., Riley L., and Slater C. Thank you, folks, so much for your support. Now, normally, this is where we name a Discord Animal of the Week.
Animal of the Week. But you guys aren't giving us animals. We need more animals. All the animals. We want the one outside, the ones you don't even own, the ones you if you walk down the street, take a picture of the animal, like, hey, this is the animal I just adopted. Okay. His name is Pistachio.
I do want to amend that. No, I do want to. Is there a pistachio? I'd like to see a picture of a pistachio.
Me too.
But what we want is a bunch of animal pictures, and you guys have been slacking a little bit.
Yeah. Only Amin and Garrett are posting.
So as punishment to everyone else, we're not going to select Animal of the Week. We really want to, but we want to see pictures. If we didn't pick your Animal of the Week at one time a few months ago, and you just don't be sad, just post more pictures. We want to post pictures online and show everyone your animals. We really want to. I promise. But sometimes there's so many posts to go through. We can't always get everything. Like it's difficult for us to go back like 4 months and pluck out an animal that we just missed. We might just not know, and we don't want to miss it. We want to see these sweet little animal faces so we can love them.
Let us know.
Yeah. So post those. We'll double up next week. Maybe you and I can both pick one next week to make up for it.
Let's see. If they post, maybe.
That's true. All right. We want to thank our graphic designer, Amber West. You can find her work at amberwestdesign.com. We want to thank our director and producer, John Choi. He is the man behind the curtain and the one that put in that terrible music for Question of the Week. We also want to thank our Agent of Bolus producers, Daniel Hunt and Matt Lindell. And we also want to remind everyone there is an open Agent of Bolus producer slot on Patreon. This is the one that gets you to be able to work with me one-on-one to create a Commander versus deck that I will play live on the show. If you're interested in that, and I bet some of you are, you definitely want to do that. This slot has not been open up for long, but it's open now. So just keep that in mind.
Don't miss it.
Don't miss it. Okay, that's it. We're done. We talked about a bunch of stuff. I ranted.
Adios, amigo.
We had five top fives. I messed it up every time, but we did do it. We did do it. Next week, Ollie, do you know what we're going to be talking about on our pop culture segment? We're going to be talking about the movie Bad Times at the El Royale, which is a movie I've been looking forward to for many moons. So if you want to join the conversation on that, you have a week to watch it. But that's it.
Watch it or botch it.
Or I would suggest watching it. All right, that's so for this week. We love you guys. Ollie, I love you too.
Love you too, buddy. Good night.